Hey, folks, welcome back to the fourth rail. I know I've been really quiet here for way too long. Um, I've had other stuff going on and I've been writing. It's not like I've been quiet, not like I dropped off the radar. Just haven't been on YouTube all that much. But something's been going on that I've got to talk about. And I don't think I can talk about it enough. In particular, what I'm talking about is the situation with the Star Wars show, The Acolyte. Uh, Let me back up a little ways. In fact, I'm going to back up a ways. I'm going back to 1977 because that's when a 4-year-old me got in the car with his uncle and went to see this new movie that everybody was talking about and my folks figured was right up my alley. It was called Star Wars. And I was so young, I couldn't even read the scroll. Okay. Combination of being four, being dyslexic, you know, it was just not a great combination. But I loved it. The moment that ship entered the frame from the top, blaster bolts going, everything, I was hooked. From R2D2, C3PO, Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, all of them. I was hooked. I saw every prequel in the theater. I complained about the prequels just like everybody, uh, but I still went and watched them, and I still watched them when they came on TV, even though they were inferior to the original. I was fine with that. Disney trilogy comes along. Hey, Disney's made some good stuff. I watched. Only one I really disliked was The Last Jedi. I did not like the whole somehow Palpatine returns in Rise of Skywalker, but I mean, honestly, I think J.J. Abrams was trying to figure out what he could do after what Ryan Johnson did in The Last Jedi. I cut him a lot of slack, and a lot of people didn't. The Mandalorian came out. I watched it. I loved it. Eagerly, eagerly watched it. Every episode that came out that morning, I am up 4 in the morning to watch it so that I can get it watched and then do work. I am nuts for it. Book of Boba Fett, same thing. Ahsoka, pretty much the same thing. Little less about Andor and Obi-Wan, but I mean, I kind of know what happens to those characters, so there's not quite the same suspense. I was legitimately looking forward to the Acolyte. Why? You're talking about the Republic era Jedi Order, still whole, not on the brink of collapse like in the prequels. I couldn't wait. It starts off with Carrie Ann Moss, who I've completely loved since The Matrix. I was ready. Guys, it was awful. It was absolutely awful. I wanted to love it. I desperately wanted to love it. Okay? A lot of people talked about the campfire in space, and yeah, that was something. The fire acting just like it does in an atmosphere, complete with the crackle. Okay, yeah, the crackle that comes from the wood that's being burned. It's not inherently part of the fire itself. Yeah, but even looking aside that, there was something in the first two episodes that just hit me raw. Yeah, just, it was like reached up into 4-year-old Tom's gut and ripped it out, ripped everything out. And what was that? The writing is terrible. It's absolutely horrendous. Prime example, Master Soul. The main character, the protagonist's master when she was with the Jedi Order, makes reference to there being a twin, that she had a twin sister. Now, this is someone they want for murder. One of the Jedi Knight accompanying him, knew Osha as a Jedi, knew her when she was a Padawan. They were friends. Clearly, it doesn't quite sit well with him that his friend is accused of murder, but there's a twin. Maybe that's the answer. No, Master Saul says definitively, she's dead. Now, okay, I have no problem with him believing she's dead. She's not. Spoiler. Sister's not dead. Sister's the one doing all the killing people. But then they catch up to Osha. Her ship crashed. The ship taking her to prison crashed. Right? She's the only one who didn't escape. She sacrificed, all but sacrificed herself to save someone who was unconscious and couldn't save themselves. Very, well, I would say Jedi like thing to do, right? She crashes. They go to the planet to find her. Short chase. They catch her at a cliff, and she immediately goes, "My sister, she's alive." And Master Saul, the character who definitively said the sister was dead, simply replies, "I believe you." What the hell, people? Seriously, what the hell? What? Mm. Oh, okay. There's a technical term for this. Okay. It's called bad fucking writing. It's terrible writing. Okay. You have an opportunity here. You have an opportunity to interject conflict. Saul could have said, "That's for the Jedi Order to determine," or "That'll come out at your trial," or "You'll have a chance to defend yourself." He didn't have to believe her right off the bat. Why would you? You believe her twin sister is dead. Her saying, "My sister's alive." Oh, well, now suddenly everything's clear. Because nobody who's ever been accused of murder, ever in the history of any species, has ever thought to lie about it. Oh, no, people are just too honest for that. Really? And the kicker is you don't have to let this go on too long, because while this is happening, another Jedi Master has an attempt on their life by someone matching the character's description. Hey, we can resolve this very, very quickly. Oh, yep, you're in the clear. But you had the opportunity to introduce tension and to make it a long-running issue, because now Master Saul has shown distrust of Osha. Conflict drives stories, right? If you look at any book on how to tell a story, how to write screenplays, how to write books, it doesn't even matter the genre. You need conflict. That's why the romantic comedy doesn't start off with the boy and girl getting together and everything going happily ever after. Why? Because it's dull. This is basic storytelling, basic 101 level storytelling, and they didn't use it. Now, a case can be made that, hey, they've got all this other stuff. Maybe they didn't need to. Yeah, maybe they didn't really need to, because, you got murder, intrigue, assassination, a dark secret, a mysterious master with a red lightsaber. You've got a lot of other stuff going on. Maybe they didn't think that was necessary. But why have Saul definitively say she was dead? He could have just as easily said, "Well, I was pretty sure she was dead. This doesn't sound like Osha, so maybe I was wrong." Okay, that's plausible, right? It makes sense. You can have doubts. We all have doubts. That's part of being human. You have doubts. This is before we ever get to the space lesbians concocting children out of the Force. Remember, that was like part of the definitive thing about what made Anakin unique. You could do that. Then, of course, you have was that thing Plo Koon? I think it was his name. Made a cameo in Episode 4. The guy wasn't supposed to be born for another 40 years, based on the Star Wars timeline. Star Trek timeline. This is how bad the Acolyte has me jacked up. I'm thinking Star Trek, which has its own issues, completely revamping things. But the show is bad. It's just bad. A lot of people may love it, but most of the people I see who are loving it, what they're loving is the right people are outraged about it, that the right people dislike it. Here's my thing for Disney. You cannot build a franchise off of that. You can't sustain a franchise off of people who are watching because of the hate. Okay? That doesn't last. If they are not fans of Star Wars, they are unlikely to continue to watch Star Wars entertainment. Okay? And then to make matters worse, we have this attack on fans supposedly being toxic because they don't like the product. Okay, look, if you go to a restaurant and you order a burger and that burger is terrible, is it your fault that it's terrible or is it the chef's fault? Now, if you're the oddball who doesn't like the burger, okay, no big deal. The chef's going to be, I'm sorry you didn't like it, but we get rave reviews, look at our Yelp score. People love this burger. And you go about your merry way. But if everyone hates that burger, the problem is with the burger, right? You don't sit here and go, you foodies are toxic. You burger fans are toxic. Right? The Yugo. Going to cars for a second. The Yugo was a terrible car. It was tiny. Seriously, I actually sat in one of those with a guy who was once described as the world's fattest man, and not by us kids. Squished up to the side. It broke down. It was just a bad car. It wasn't a case of auto fans being toxic for not liking the product. The product was just bad. But lately, we've gotten this thing where if you don't like where a franchise decides to go, it's your fault. Okay? Touched on Star Trek a little while ago. Star Trek Discovery. Not a particularly great show. Watch the first season. There was some potential that they didn't really explore. Serious potential. Didn't explore it. But what they did manage to find times to do is to completely remake Klingons. Make them look nothing like the Klingons we'd seen before, where they looked almost human. And you can't even call it just the direction Klingon evolution went, because it took place before the original series. So they mess it up. And then when people said, hey, I don't like this new thing, this new thing that purports to be Star Trek is not good. And suddenly it was, well, yeah, you fans are just toxic. You expect us to stick to canon? Yes, we do. We expect it because that canon is a thread that we can all associate with. We can understand it, right? It means what came before impacts after. Now, you can change that. Comic books been doing it for years with retcons. There are ways to do it, but you have to do it in a way that makes some sense to the audience. You don't just interject that, oh, suddenly for a few years, Klingons looked, like, I don't know, a pestilent boil on someone's ball sack. You don't do that. Star Wars is doing that now. Now they're introducing plot holes left and right. And when you point them out, it's not valid criticism. I'm not going to include any clips for one simple reason. Disney has struck a couple of different channels. They've gone after a couple of different channels. Critical Drinker and Neurotic as two of the big ones. And in the process, what they're trying to do is silence people who don't like their product. Looper did a video about, well, some of this is just driven by hate and bigotry, and that criticism should be dismissed. But the problem is that if it actually is being driven by that, you're fine. Dismiss it. Go right ahead. It's your right. But all criticism is being dismissed as hate and bigotry. Nobody cares about there's a black girl Jedi. Jedi Padawan who walked away from the Order. Nobody cares that she's black. Nobody cares that she was raised by lesbians, right? One of the latest controversies is she makes some reference to they, them pronouns today, in episode 4. I don't care. That is not the biggest sin of the Acolyte. In fact, doing the gay stuff as subtly as they've been doing it, relatively speaking, I think is a better way to do it. If you just have to interject your politics into it, doing it subtly, that's the way to do it. because I don't have to agree with what you interject to still derive entertainment. The problem is you forgot to inject entertainment into it. And when I point that out, you want to call me toxic and bigoted. You're not listening to what we're saying. Your franchise will die if you keep this up. I'm walked away. I am done with Star Wars. That hurts. On a visceral level, it hurts because for 47 years, I have been a Star Wars fan. I am 50. My entire life, I have loved Star Wars. And yeah, Disney, you own it. You can take it away from me if you want. That's your call. But you don't get to call me toxic because I disagree with the direction you took it and expect me to sit there and shut up about it. And that goes for the other people who grew up after A New Hope came out, after Star Wars came out. It is still Star Wars to me, not A New Hope. It is Star Wars. But people came out after, came about in this world after that. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm ranting. People came into this world after that. They have loved Star Wars their entire lives. They have not known a world where Star Wars wasn't in it, and they love it. And you're calling them toxic because they don't like what you put out. All you had to do was go, we'll try to do better next season. Okay. How hard is that? You don't even have to try. You could just say, we'll try better next season. I am sick of people thinking I'm wrong for not liking their product. I'm sick of watching large swaths of the population demonized because they don't like the product. It's not how the world works anymore, folks. Or let me back up. It's how the world seems to work. It's not how it should. You want my money, Disney? Make something better. You want my money, Paramount? Make something better. And for the record, from what little bit I've seen of Brave New World, they did. Make better products, and the fans will stay. Make a bad product, blame the fans for it. That's on you. Knock it off.